speaking of so stupid, let's go to how do you solve a problem like Marie? Oh, Maria Bartiromo has Ted Cruz on. And according to the title of this, Ted Cruz says that that Biden has put Iranian spies in the U.S. government. Yeah, Senator Cruz alleges Biden appointed Iranian spies within the U.S. government. Well, this I gotta hear. And it's worth, the nice thing about it is, it's worth a whole 4 minutes and 39 seconds. One would think that if there was anything to this, it would seem as if possibly that this would require a more in-depth segment than just a 4 minutes and 39 seconds bit. But now I don't know how long they've gone with this. You know, like maybe she's had him on for 3 segments and this is just what deals with it, in all fairness. But I don't think so. Let's find out.
Welcome back. Joining me right now is former Trump and
Okay, so nope, there was not another segment before this.
W. Bush State Department Senior Advisor and Center for the National Interest Senior Fellow, Christian Whiten. Christian, good to have you this morning.
You look very upset, Christian. You look like someone just farted on your cornflakes.
Thanks very much for being here. Israel now in its 3rd week of war against Hamas.
I think it's longer than that.
Concerns are growing over a widening conflict, and the Israeli Defense Forces are saying this morning that it's struck 4 Hezbollah areas.
Areas, that's what they're called.
I want to get your take on specifically.
Yeah, it was like a picnic area that they go to. There's a soccer field.
You see this?
I'm kidding. They just areas. Get the fuck out of here.
Out, as we understand, the administration is trying to get Israel to stall on its ground offensive into Gaza.
Yeah, out of concern for the hostages. It's weird. I know. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with them. It's almost like they want to wait until we can get all the hostages out before they start bombing the very tunnels where these people are.
Yeah, this seems to be the worst kept secret around. Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, danced around that question yesterday, Maria, as to whether or not we are leaning on Israel to hold up. You know, my heart goes out to the families of these hostages.
Do they really, though? His heart goes out from Steamboat Springs, Colorado. He's right in the heart of this. I'm so glad they brought somebody in who's right there in Israel. I'm reporting from Gaza, straight on the ground. Where's his blue helmet, though? I'm concerned for his safety in Steamboat fucking Springs.
Hostages themselves, but what are we exactly hoping to accomplish in negotiations? I know we've gotten a couple.
I'm guessing the lives of these people? Perhaps?
That's great. It seems like we're being strung along by Hamas. But ultimately, you know, we used to have.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we've waited too long. I figured just fuck it. You know what I mean? Well, we don't know if those people are alive anyways. We should just nuke the fucking place. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, even if they are alive, that's not, I wouldn't call that living, obviously. They probably don't have, you know, any of the snacks that they're used to. They don't have control of the remote. I mean, what, is that a life, really? I feel like we should just go ahead gas the place. Just gas. I mean, it's not like that has any, you know, historical connotation.
Policy of not even negotiating with terrorists. What are we going to do? Are we going to send cash to Hamas?
Cash? Are we going to do this? Cash in the form of gauze and food for the people of Palestine? I mean, honestly, the Palestinians themselves. I mean, what leverage do we have if we can't just, I don't know, starve Palestinian children? You know what I mean? It seems like a tit for a tat for me.
Cut them some deal. You know, when we started World War II, Japan had a very large number of U.S. hostages, if you will, prisoners of war. They treated them terribly. Remember?
When we started World War II? The fuck are you talking about?
Bataan Death March. It didn't stop us from taking the war to the people who had started the war, and to lean on Israel to remove any element of surprise, to allow Hamas to build up whatever defenses, formidable defenses they're likely doing. I think
this thing, first of all right, so basically this asshole's saying, what are we waiting for? Let's start World War III. Great. This is shocking coming from a, what does this say? Former George W. Bush State Department senior advisor. Fuck, it's almost like you're one of the asshats who made the terrible decisions that helped us stay in Afghanistan and Iraq for 2 fucking decades. Goodness me.
And it also sends a bad signal about what's going to happen at the end of this war, because Israel...
You're presuming there will be one?
Can talk about going in and degrading Hamas, but realistically, you're going to have a different political order enforced on Gaza. And it's already seeming like the Biden administration is not going to have Israel's back on that.
You might, real quick, you might want to tell Maria what the fuck you mean by that. And of course, what he means by that is all the things you've heard about apartheid and open air prison and genocide or whatever. He means that. It hasn't happened yet, but he wants it to happen.
Yeah, and, you know, Texas...
Yeah, so true. I know.
Ted Cruz joined me yesterday on Sunday morning.
Look at all these buildings. They are allowed to have these big, beautiful buildings. And these big, beautiful buildings, they're allowed to have these things, and we're not bombing them.
Futures warning about the Biden-appointed Iranian spies who are currently working in the White House.
The Biden-appointed Iranian spies that are currently working in the White House. Yeah, she really said that.
Should we be reading this? Watch this.
3 of Rob Malley's top advisors, his inner circle, that he relied on, were Iranian operatives.
Dun, dun, dun.
Recruited by the government of Iran. They were directed by the Iranian foreign minister. They reported to the Iranian foreign minister. We have their emails now in which they discuss. One of them discusses with the foreign minister that his loyalties are with the government of Iran, and he is there to do whatever they direct, including making the message from within the federal government that there's nothing wrong with Iran having a nuclear stockpile. You literally had 3 Iranian spies.
It's weird how this... there is no speaking of like, oh yeah, cool. We're cool with Iran getting a missile. That's fine. They can get nukes if they want to. Apparently it hasn't worked its way to the top.
Working in senior positions directly around the U.S. government. One of them,
directly around the U.S. government,
as far as we know, remains a chief of staff in the Department of Defense to this day with access to classified documents.
So what about that, as Israel says this morning that it struck 4 Hezbollah cells on the Lebanese border?
Yeah, what kind of fucking Iranian operative is this guy if he can't even warn Hezbollah that these cells are going to get hit? I mean, you know they're talking about this stuff.
Christian.
Right. Well, it shows that the Biden administration has never taken the political threat from Iran seriously. They thought they could...
The political threat?
Cut a deal like the deal that the Obama-Biden administration cut in 20...
Oh, you mean the one that stopped their nuclear program and then Donald Trump scuttled it, and now they don't trust the U.S. government to stick to any deal that they make, so they're just going to go ahead and move ahead? It's weird. Also, that whole thing where they're like buddies with Russia, that didn't seem wonky. The Obama-Biden trying to set them up, and Trump gets rid of the deal so they can move ahead with it, and
And if you want to cut a deal at any price, then Rob Malley is the kind of guy you put in charge of that at the State Department. He actually had his security clearance revoked. For someone who reports directly...
Hold on. Let's see. This would be this situation. In October, this is October 1st of 2023. Here you go. High-level Iranian spy ring busted in Washington. The trail leads from Tehran to D.C., passes directly through the offices of Robert Malley and the International Crisis Group. This is October 1st. The Biden administration's now suspended Iran envoy Robert Malley helped to fund, support, and direct an Iranian intelligence operation designed to influence United States and allied governments, according to a trove of purloined Iranian government emails. The emails, which were reported by a veteran Wall Street Journal correspondent Jay Solomon, writing in Semaphore, and by Iran International, the London-based emigre opposition outlet, which is the most widely read independent news source on Iran, were published last week after being extensively verified over a period of several months by the two outlets. They showed that Malley had helped to infiltrate an Iranian agent of influence named Ariana Tabatabai into some of the most sensitive positions in the U.S. government, first at the State Department, now at the Pentagon, where she has been serving as Chief of Staff of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations, Christopher Mayer. On Thursday, Mayer told Congressional Committee that the Defense Department is actively looking into whether all law and policy was followed. The emails were exchanged over the emails, which were exchanged over a period of several years between Iranian regime diplomats and analysts, show that Tabatabai has been part of a regime propaganda unit set up in 2014 by the Iranian Foreign Ministry, the Iran Experts Initiative. Weird, they wouldn't do that earlier in the Obama administration. It's almost as like they were being told by somebody to tee up, get ready for 2016. Several of the contents of the emails were damning, showing a group of Iranian American academics being recruited by the Iranian regime, meeting together in foreign countries to receive instructions from top regime officials, blah, blah, blah. Both inside and outside the government, the efforts members, blah, 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 repeatedly supported and advanced by Malley, who served as the U.S. government's chief interlocutor with Iran under both the Obama and Biden administrations. Malley also formed the head of the International Crisis Group, which directly paid and credentialed several key members of the regime's influence operation. Malley in Wonderland, why Iran is getting the bomb, blah, blah, blah. The IEI, according to a 2014 email from an Iranian official, consisted of a core group of 6 to 10 distinguished second-generation Iranians who had established affiliation with the leading international think tanks and academic institutions, mainly in Europe and the U.S. The network was funded and supported by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. According to the correspondence, the IEI recruited several U.S.-based analysts, including Tabatabai, Ali Vaez, and Dina Esfandiari, of whom willingly accepted Iranian guidance. These Middle East experts were then subsequently hired, credentialed, supported, and funded by Malley and the ICG when he was president from January 2018 to January 2021 when he joined the Biden administration. Malley was also ICG's program director for Middle East and North Africa before the Obama administration tapped him in February 2014 to run negotiations for the Iran deal. Emails quoted in the story show that even once in government, Malley directed Vaez's actions at ICG, sending him to Vienna, where the Iranian U.S. teams held nuclear negotiations. Following the order of his previous boss, Malley, Vaez will come to Vienna, he wrote in 2014. Who from our group do you expect a meeting with him? Blah, blah, blah. As Iranian based in these emails likely explain why Vaez was unable to obtain a security clearance in order to join Malley in the Biden administration. At the same time, they raised questions of why Malley sought to bring Vaez into the State Department in the first place and why he remained in close operational contact with them even after he was denied a security clearance. After the Iran deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, was finalized in 2015, ICG hired another IEI operative, Adnan Tabatabai, not to be confused with Pentagon official Ariane Tabatabai. Like Vaez, Adnan Tabatabai also pledged to dedicate his efforts to the Iranian regime. In an email in early 2021, shortly after he joined the administration, Malley brought a third IEI, Dina Esfandiari, into the ICG. ICG did not respond to the press time. In February 2021, Malley hired them to join his Iran team at the State Department. Emails document her cloying determination to prove her worth to the Iranian regime. Shortly after 2014 meeting in Vienna, Ariane Tabatabai sent Zahrani a link to an article she co-authored with Esfandiari. As I mentioned last week, Dean and I wrote an article about the nuclear fuel of Bushehr, the power plant, for the Bulletin, which was published today. Our goal was to show that it was what is said in the West that Iran does not need more than 1,500 centrifuges is wrong, and that Iran should not be expected to reduce the number of centrifuges, which, by the way, happened anyways underneath the deal. It didn't work. In June 2014, Ariane said, emailed Zahrani and said she'd been invited to conferences in Saudi Arabia and Israel and asked for his prior approval or trips. I'd like to ask opinion too. See if you would like to accept the invitation. A month later, she wrote this again. This is in response to tablet emails requesting the rolling. A State Department spokesperson said, "We have seen the Semaphore article, which does not presume it was aspiring, and we reject the characterization. Rob Malley remains on leave, and we have no further comment due to privacy considerations. The Biden-Harris administration appointed Ariane Tapatai to serve various roles in the U.S. government because of her expertise on nuclear and other foreign policy issues. The Defense Department did not respond to Tablet's email requesting comment on her role in the Iranian spying, whether the IEI is best characterized as Iranian spying or as a regime-directed influence operation is a semantic question that beggars the question on how any responsible U.S. security official is in possession of Tabatai's correspondence could have cleared her to enter the State Department building of the Pentagon, let alone cleared her to work as Chief of Staff in the Defense Department and direct access. It seems likely that by the time of her appointment in the Pentagon's office, our covert activities on behalf of the Iranian regime were well known in the Biden administration. The hoops you have to jump through to get a bare-bones secret clearance, that they grill you on your foreign contacts with any foreign government raise more red flags than Bernie Sanders' honeymoon, whatever. Contacts with senior officials from the enemy governments classified as non-frat governments like Russia, China, Cuba, as well as, again, the other possibility is that she's a double agent, and they know this, and these fuckers just outed a double agent that they were using for their own behalf, and a double agent isn't quite worth anything if they don't pledge allegiance to the people that they're actively reverse spying on, but whatever. The fact is, 2014, as Tablet reported, the Obama administration was spying on Israeli officials in their contacts within the United States, including U.S. lawmakers and pro-Israel activists. The fact that U.S. intelligence services routinely disobeyed guidelines, preventing them from unmasking the identities of U.S. persons recorded in the transcripts of foreign intelligence intercepts as being exotic. That's nonsense. Okay, so this is Tablet's pulling the whole, unmasking thing again. Suspicions surround ex-Iran envoy Rob Malley after Israel thing. This is the New York Post thing. After Israel attack, worst State Department scandal. The Biden administration's former special envoy to Iran, who was placed on leave earlier this year for allegedly mishandling classified material, should face extensive scrutiny for his permissive stance towards Tehran. Rob Malley deserves extensive scrutiny yesterday, today, and tomorrow, said Daryl Issa. Okay, so this is back and forth. All right, there we go. That's what he's talking about.
To the Secretary of the President, that's a very big deal. You have to do something very, very wrong, and it's presumed, or at least reported, that he gave classified information to some sort of Iranian or pro-Iranian group. But this threat is something that this administration hasn't taken seriously. As for Hezbollah, it seems that all of Iran's proxy armies, and Hezbollah is the Shiite one on the north in Lebanon. The Houthi, of course, also firing some missiles. They're over in Yemen, another Iranian proxy army that is essentially at war, or at times at war, with Saudi Arabia and the UAE, two U.S. allies.
Right, which is why this will bring Saudi Arabia and Israel closer, rather than scuttling the peace deal, which seems to be the general thought, which is dumb.
They're under pressure from Iran to open another front, or appear to do so.
Yeah, there's no difference between those two things: opening a front and appearing to do so.
If they do so, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been extremely clear that Lebanon and Hezbollah will face dire consequences if they really...
Yeah, they fired on 4 positions. She said that earlier. The United States has no position on that because they're allowed to... This is so stupid.
...to engage seriously.
All right, Christian, thanks very much for weighing in there. Christian White joining us.
Boy, was that a shit ton of nothing, too.